Lamine Yamal is 18 years old and is about to play in his first World Cup. He's already one of the best players in the world with Barcelona, but is he just as good for Spain? To answer that question, I watched all 25 of his matches for the senior national team, and in this video, I'm going to tell you everything I discovered. From his debut and first goal at just 16 years old, the European Championship he won one day after turning 17, to the 2025 Nations League, and finally the injury that put his place in this World Cup in doubt. But we also need to look at how he got here. Before reaching the senior team, Lamine Yamal went through Spain's youth ranks, and what he did at the under-17 Euros already showed the world what was coming. Will Lamine Yamal be the best player at the 2026 World Cup? Let me know your opinion in the comments. Before we talk about European championships and world records, we need to understand where all of this began. Lamine Yamal didn't just appear out of nowhere in Spain's senior team. Before that, he came through several youth levels of the national setup. It all started on September 21st, 2021, when he was just 14 years old. That day, he made his debut for Spain's under-16 team in a friendly against Russia. Spain lost that match, but 3 days later, in the second game, Lamine scored his first international goal. A few months later, February 2022, he was also called up to the under-15 team, and in his very first match, once again against Russia, he scored a goal and provided an assist. With the under-15s, he played 6 matches between February and May 2022, scoring 3 goals in total. At the same time, he kept appearing for the under-16s too. All of that happened in less than a year. It was with the under-17s that the football world truly began to notice him. In the spring of 2023, at just 15 years old, Lamine was called up for the Under-17 European Championship in Hungary, a tournament where many of the other players were up to 2 years older than him. In the group stage, Spain faced Italy, Slovenia, and Serbia. Lamine started all 3 games and made his mark in every single one. Against Slovenia, he scored his first goal of the tournament from the penalty spot. Against Serbia, he got on the scoresheet again with another goal. In the quarterfinals, Spain beat Ireland, with Lamine producing a goal and an assist. Then came the semi-final against France, but Spain couldn't win. They were knocked out, even though Lamine scored. He had one consolation prize. He finished the tournament as the top scorer, with 4 goals and 2 assists in 5 matches. But that defeat against France stayed with him, and things were not going to end there. Then, while all of this was happening, something just as important was happening at Barcelona. On April 29, 2023, at 15 years and 290 days old, Lamine made his debut for Barcelona's first team in La Liga against Real Betis. He only played 7 minutes, but that was enough to become the youngest player ever to debut for Barcelona in the competition. And just a few months later, he was called up to Spain's senior national team at 16 years old, without even having played 10 professional matches. But why were they in such a hurry to call him up? The truth is, there was a very important reason. Lamine Yamal was eligible for 3 national teams. His father is from Morocco and his mother is from Equatorial Guinea, so he had 3 possible national sides to choose from. And Morocco, who had just reached the semi-finals of the Qatar World Cup, hard to convince him. Spain moved quickly, and the man who led that move was Luis de la Fuente, who had spent years coaching Spain's youth teams and knew Lamine very well. He knew exactly what kind of player he had in front of him, and he wasn't willing to lose him. De La Fuente called him, and in the end, Lamine chose La Roja before his first senior call-up. He had already played 21 matches across Spain's different youth levels and scored 12 goals. And he did all of that without even needing to go through the under-21s. By the time that stage might have come, he had already outgrown it. Then finally came his long-awaited debut for the senior national team, September 8, 2023. Tbilisi, Georgia, a European Championship qualifier, Spain versus Georgia. Spain needed to win to stay on track for qualification, and Luis de la Fuente decided the time had come. That 16-year-old kid with just 9 matches for Barcelona was ready. Lamine Yamal came onto the pitch in the 44th minute after Dani Olmo got injured. Spain were already 4-0 up, and the match looked completely settled. But Lamine didn't want to just make his debut. He wanted to leave his mark. In the 74th minute, the ball dropped to him inside the box, and he finished first time with a brilliant goal. A goal on his debut at just 16 years and 57 days old. At that moment, he became the youngest player ever to debut and score for Spain's senior national team, breaking the previous record held by his teammate Gavi, but that record went beyond Spain. He became the youngest player to score for any European national team in the last 117 years. Just to put that into perspective, Messi made his Argentina debut at 18, Cristiano Ronaldo made his Portugal debut at 18, Mbappe made his France debut at 18, Lamine did it at 16, and he scored on top of that. 3 days later, Spain faced Cyprus, and this time Lamine started. He played the full 90 minutes. He once again showed that he could trouble any opponent, and Spain won comfortably, but soon after that came the first warning signs. In October 2023, he suffered some muscle problems. Missed matches against Scotland and Norway. At the time, those absences seemed minor, but in reality, they were the start of a pattern that would repeat itself again and again over the following years. The body of a player that young has limits, and Spain, Barcelona, the records, the media spotlight, everything was pushing in the same direction. In November 2023, Spain played 2 more qualifiers. Lamine returned against Cyprus away from home, started the match, and by the 5th minute, he had already scored his 2nd goal for Spain in just 3 appearances. A week later, in Valladolid against Georgia, Spain secured first place in the group, qualification for the European Championship was confirmed, and Lamine had made it clear that he deserved a regular place in the starting 11. Meanwhile, at Barcelona, his rise kept accelerating. He became a regular starter under Xavi, scored his first league goal, made his Champions League debut, and more people around the world began to learn the name Lamine Yamal. Then came March 2024, and with it, Spain's first friendly of the year. Spain vs Colombia in London. Spain lost 1-0. Lamine didn't come on until the 72nd minute, only around 18 minutes left and the match already slipping away. He couldn't change it. It was his first defeat with Spain. But 3 days later, something very different happened. Spain faced Brazil in a friendly at the Santiago Bernabeu, and luckily I was there to watch it live. What Lamine did that night left me speechless. From the very first minute, he was spectacular. He was involved in all 3 of Spain's goals. He won a penalty, he assisted Dani Olmo for the 2nd goal, and he played the pass to Carvajal that led to another penalty and eventually Spain's 3rd. The match ended 3-3. When Lamine walked off in stoppage time, the Bernabeu, home of Barcelona's eternal rivals, stood up to applaud him. The European Championship was getting closer. Spain's first warm-up match was against Andorra in June 2024. Spain won 5-0, but Lamine didn't play. De La Fuente wanted to protect him for what was coming next. And what came next was Northern Ireland, the real final rehearsal before the Euros. Lamine started, played the full 90 minutes, and delivered a masterclass. He finished with 2 assists in a 5-1 win. But, even though he was the youngest player in the squad, he was the best player on the pitch. Spain looked sharp, but nobody yet knew what was about to happen. Because in the summer of 2024, at just 16 years old, Lamine Yamal was about to live the most important month of his life, a European Championship, a guaranteed starting spot for Spain, and the whole world about to learn his name. If you're enjoying the video, so don't forget to subscribe and support the channel. Most of you watching still aren't subscribed, and it would really help me keep making content like this. Thank you so much. Euro 2024. Germany. A lot of people may not remember this now, but Spain did not enter the tournament as favorites. In fact, on the official promotional poster, there were 8 highlighted national teams, and Spain wasn't one of them. Something was different this time. Spain had a kid in the squad who could do things no one else could. While his classmates were finishing their school exams, Lamine Yamal was getting ready to play in a European Championship. He brought his homework with him to Germany. He studied in his room whenever there was no training. And when Nico Williams or Fermin Lopez called him, he went downstairs to play PlayStation with them. A normal kid in a completely abnormal situation. Spain's first match was against Croatia, a team that had traditionally caused them problems. Nobody expected such a dominant performance, but from the first minute, Lamine was a nightmare for Croatia's defense. Late in the first half, he received the ball on the right, looked up, delivered a perfect cross for Carvajal goal. 3-0. With that assist, he became the youngest player ever to register an assist in European Championship history. Then came Italy. It was a more difficult match. Spain dominated for the full 90 minutes, but the Italians defended well and closed the spaces. In the end, an own goal by Calafiori gave Spain the win. Lamine created danger all game down the right side, but he wasn't directly involved in the goal. With Spain already qualified, De La Fuente rotated the squad against Albania. Lamine started on the bench and came on in the 72nd minute. Spain won 1-0 and moved into the knockout stage. While preparing for the round of 16, Lamine received the results of his school exams. He had been taking them throughout the training camp, Studying in his room during free time and sending assignments back to his tutor. He passed, he called his mother to tell her, and then he went straight back to training, completely surreal. In the round of 16, Spain faced Georgia, the same country where Lamine had made his senior debut less than a year earlier. Once again he started, once again he delivered. He assisted Spain's second goal. Spain won 4-1 to move through comfortably. Then came the quarterfinal, Germany versus Spain on German soil. For many people, this was the real final before the final. Lamine rose to the occasion immediately. In the 51st minute, he made another brilliant play down the right and delivered a perfect pass for Dani Olmo goal. 1-0 Spain, but then came one of the most controversial moments of the tournament. De La Fuente took him off in the 63rd minute. Spain were leading, and Lamine had been one of the best players on the pitch. The coach chose to protect the result. The consequences came quickly. Germany equalized, and the match went to extra time. Even so, Spain found a late winner and reached the semi-finals, but the question remained, what would have happened if Lamine had stayed on the pitch? Then came the semi-final, Spain versus France. Euro 2024. Do you remember that under-17 Euros semi-final from the year before? The one where Spain were knocked out by France, even though Lamine scored. 1 year later, same tournament, same opponent. But now, stakes were far bigger. The build-up was tense. Adrien Rabiot spoke to the press and threw down a challenge. Lamine saw it and responded on social media. Then the match began. France scored first in the 9th minute. In the 21st minute, something happened that no one who watched it will ever forget. Lamine received the ball, shifted it onto his left foot, and unleashed a stunning strike from outside the box that flew into the top corner, a masterpiece. That goal silenced half of Europe. And who was in the frame? Rabiot. Very same player who had said too much before the game. At 16 years and 362 days old, Lamine became the youngest goalscorer in European Championship history, and he did it against France in a semi-final. 4 minutes later, Dani Olmo made it 2-1. Spain held on and won. At the end of the match, Lamine looked straight into the camera and said just 2 words. Talk now. He hadn't just sent Spain to the final, silenced Rabiot, and taken revenge for that defeat at under-17 level 1 year earlier. It felt like something out of a movie. Then came the final, Berlin. Spain versus England. The day before the match, Lamine turned 17 years old. Just think about that. Turning 17 the day before playing in a European Championship final, with millions watching and the pressure of an entire country on your shoulders, and still delivered at the start of the second half. With the score still 0-0, Lamine got the ball on the right and played a brilliant pass to the far post for Nico Williams' goal, 1-0 Spain. England responded through Cole Palmer. The tension returned immediately, but in the closing minutes, Mikel Oyarzabal scored the winner. 2-1. Spain were champions of Europe for the 4th time in their history, an all-time record, and Lamine Yamal, having just turned 17, was named the best young player of the tournament. He finished Euro 2024 with 1 goal and 4 assists, becoming one of only a handful of players in history to record that many assists in a single European championship. Then, the boy who arrived in Germany with homework in his backpack left with a trophy in his hands. September 2024, the first international break of the new season, Spain began their Nations League campaign. Lamine arrived as a European champion. Off the pitch, he was already a superstar. But on the pitch, nobody gives you anything for free. Spain's first match was against Serbia, and it was a very tense, physical game where neither team could really shine. The 0-0 scoreline reflected the match well. Lamine was involved, but he couldn't make the difference against a defense that focused heavily on stopping him from the very start. 3 days later, against Switzerland, Spain and Lamine returned to their best level. He only played the first half, but that was enough to set up a goal for Joselu. Spain won 4-1 comfortably, but when he returned to Barcelona, things became more complicated. Flick publicly complained that Lamine had played both matches while carrying discomfort, taking painkillers just to get through them, and that he had not trained normally between games. The result was clear. Lamine came back affected. Once fully recovered, he returned to Spain for a match against Denmark, and in my opinion, it was the worst performance of his time with the national team up to that point. Danes had a very clear plan: stop Lamine before he could even think. They stayed tight to him all game, used hard challenges, committed tactical fouls, and never allowed him to settle. He could barely touch the ball in comfort. Spain won 1-0, but Lamine came off in stoppage time limping, and of course he couldn't play the next match against Serbia. Then, in November, Barcelona confirmed that he had suffered an injury to his right ankle, which would keep him out for 2 to 3 weeks. That meant he missed Spain's next 2 Nations League matches against Denmark and Switzerland. 3 missed matches in 2 months, and once again, the same pattern. Lamine's body kept sending warning signs at the same point of the season, but when he came back, he really came back. March 2025. This Nations League quarterfinals. Spain versus the Netherlands. The first leg was played away from home. Lamine played 66 minutes in a very balanced match. Spain rescued a 2-2 draw in the final minute. Lamine didn't have his best night. He had gone months without scoring in the league. The media had started asking questions. Still, everything would be decided in the second leg at home. Second leg was absolute chaos. Spain and the Netherlands traded blows for 120 minutes. Lamine was outstanding then, in the 103rd minute of extra time, with the score at 2-2, received a floated pass and fired past the Dutch goalkeeper with an unstoppable finish. 0.32 Spain. But the Dutch equalized again. The match went to penalties, and against all expectations, Lamine missed his spot kick. Luckily for Spain, it was their only miss. The Netherlands missed too, and Spain reached the semi-finals, and then, almost unbelievably, it happened again. Another semi-final. Again, France. Every time Lamine and France meet, something big seems to happen, and this time was no different. The match was wild. Spain went 4-0 up by the 55th minute. Lamine scored twice, first from the penalty spot after winning the penalty himself, and then again on a perfectly executed counterattack. France fought back and made it 5-4 late on. Spain held firm and reached the final. Lamine was, of course, named MVP, and in his own individual showdown with Dembele, he came out on top that night. At the end of the season, Dembele would go on to win the Ballon d'Or, but in Stuttgart the only thing that mattered was that Lamine had delivered when Spain needed him most. Still, the final was a different story. Spain versus Portugal. By then, Lamine was running on fumes. He had played a brutal number of minutes during the season, and it showed. The match was extremely close. He finally came off in the 105th minute of extra time with the score at 2-2. And in the end, Spain lost on penalties, runner-up in the Nations League, a painful end to the season, but by then all eyes were already turning toward the next summer, the World Cup. 5. Road to the 2026 World Cup. September 2025, World Cup qualifying began. Spain were placed in Group E alongside Bulgaria, Turkey, and Georgia, and Lamine arrived hungry. First match was in Sofia against Bulgaria. Spain were in control from the start, and Lamine was so dominant that the Bulgarian crowd booed him every single time he touched the ball. They whistled him for 78 minutes. He responded with an assist, and when you're the best player on the pitch and the home crowd is booing you, you're probably doing something right. 3 days later, against Turkey, Spain produced a stunning performance. 6-0, a historic scoreline in a qualifier. Lamine provided 2 assists and once again became the attacking engine of La Roja, but when he returned to Barcelona, his body sent another warning sign. He picked up discomfort that kept him out of Spain's October camp, and he missed 2 more World Cup qualifiers. Then, in November, came the biggest controversy of his international career so far. Lamine was dealing with pubalgia, a chronic injury issue, and on the very same morning he was supposed to report for international duty, Barcelona gave him treatment, forced the Spanish Federation to issue a public statement, and Luis de la Fuente had no choice but to withdraw him from the squad. Spain still qualified for the World Cup, and when March 2026 arrived, Lamine returned. At Estadio de la Ceramica, Spain beat Serbia 3-0 in a warm-up friendly. Lamine played 63 minutes and put in a solid performance before being rested for the second half. The next match, against Egypt, less impressive. Spain couldn't find a goal, and the match ended 0-0. Lamine played, but without truly standing out. Then came the moment no one was expecting. In a league match for Barcelona, taking a penalty, Lamine picked up an injury. He was ruled out for 4 to 5 weeks. With the World Cup just around the corner, he missed the end of the club season and Spain's final 2 warm-up matches. Involvement in the opening games of the World Cup was suddenly in doubt. Spain's most important player was heading into the biggest tournament of his career with serious physical uncertainty. This is where I want to pause for a moment, because after watching all of his matches for Spain, I found a statistic I really wasn't expecting. In 25 appearances for the senior national team, Lamine Yamal has lost only 1 match in normal time, and that was a meaningless friendly against Colombia, in which he only played a few minutes. So technically, Lamine Yamal has never lost an official match with Spain. Now, his first World Cup arrives at 18 years old, after winning a European Championship, losing a Nations League final on penalties, suffering an injury that put his place in the tournament in doubt until the very last moment. No one knows what is going to happen next. But if these 25 matches have taught us anything, it's this. Yeah, things get serious first. Lamine Yamal always shows up, so now I want to hear from you. Do you think Lamine Yamal will be the best player at the 2026 World Cup? Leave your opinion in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more football content here on Read Davil Football.